So, when you're thinking about your future, your career, what kind of impact do you really want to make? For a long time, it felt like there were only two options, right? You could go into business and make money, or you could dedicate your life to public service and make a difference. But what if that's a false choice? What if there's another way? Let's explore a new path to change.
Okay, so here are those two traditional roads. On one side, you've got the world of business. It's fast-paced, innovative, all driven by profit. And on the other side, you have government, focused on stability, public good, and making sure everyone has access. They seem like they're from completely different planets, don't they? But the big question is, what if there's a way to get the best of both? First up, let's talk about the business-led approach. This is all about the idea that the free market, with all its competition and drive to innovate, can actually be one of our most powerful tools for solving problems.
In the business world, there's one rule: the customer is king. The entire ecosystem is built to solve a problem for someone who is willing to pay for that solution. Success isn't decided by a committee somewhere, it's decided every single time you click Buy Now or choose one brand over another at the store.
So what makes this model tick? Well, a few key things. First, the focus is always on the customer. Second, its reach is kinda limited. It only works for problems where people are able and willing to pay. And participation? It's completely voluntary. No one's forcing you to buy anything. And finally, the engine that makes the whole thing go is profit. That's what lets a good idea grow and keep going.
And this really gets to the heart of it, because profit is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it's a constraint. If you can't solve a problem profitably, most businesses just won't touch it. But on the other hand, it's an incredibly powerful catalyst. Profit is the fuel that allows a company to reinvest, to grow, and to take a great idea from a tiny startup to a global force that creates huge social impact. So, here's the bottom line. The business model is incredibly powerful and efficient at solving problems, as long as you can make money from the solution. But what about all those huge, messy problems that don't have an obvious path to profit? Well, that's where our second path comes into play.
All right, let's switch gears and look at that second path, the government-led approach. This model isn't about serving customers. It's about solving problems for an entire society, and it plays by a totally different set of rules.
And this right here, this is the single biggest difference. Businesses serve customers, people who choose to buy something. Governments serve citizens, people who have rights, like the right to clean water or an education, no matter how much money is in their pocket. That one little shift in perspective, it changes everything about how you approach a problem.
So we're not talking about targeting a niche market anymore. The goal here is to create huge systems that ensure fairness, access, and inclusion for everyone. Think about public schools, national parks, or clean air regulations. These are things designed to benefit all of us, the whole of society.
The government's playbook is just different. The focus is the citizen. Its reach is universal. These rules are for everybody. Participation is often mandatory. We all pay taxes, right? And the engine isn't profit. The goal is simply social benefit. Success is measured by our collective well-being.
And look, this approach is absolutely essential for those massive challenges the market just won't touch. But let's be honest, government can sometimes be slower, more like a giant, steady ship than a nimble speedboat. And that slowness can create a gap, a space between the problems we have and the solutions we need.
So what happens in that gap? The space between what's purely profitable for business and what's purely a public good. Well, that's where we find a really fascinating third path: social entrepreneurship.
So what is social entrepreneurship? Put simply, it's about taking the best tools from the business world, things like innovation, efficiency, and a startup mentality, and pointing them directly at social and environmental problems. The main goal isn't to make a handful of shareholders rich, it's to create lasting value for a community.
It lives in this really cool middle ground. It's more sustainable than a traditional charity because it actually generates its own income. But it's way more mission-driven than a typical company because its ultimate goal isn't just about the money.
A core concept here is something called the triple bottom line. So instead of just measuring profit, a social enterprise measures its success in 3 different ways: its impact on people, its impact on the planet, and yes, its financial profit. See, profit isn't the end goal here. It's the engine that keeps the whole mission running.
Okay, this all sounds great in theory, right? But what does it actually look like in the real world? Let's take a look at a fantastic example, a company called Global Village Fruits. So here's how their model works.
They go out and find these amazing, high-quality products being grown in rural areas that are basically cut off from big markets. Then, they partner up with the local farmers, training them in sustainable practices to improve their product. And finally, they build the entire supply chain to connect those farmers and their products to customers all over the world.
And what this creates is this incredible, powerful, virtuous cycle. Their business success is directly tied to their social impact. The more fruit they sell, the more farmers they can lift up. The better they train those farmers, the better the fruit is, which means more sales. It's a perfect loop where doing good for the community is also good for the bottom line.
Now, Global Village Fruits isn't trying to replace the government's role in developing rural areas. Not at all. It's providing a powerful, market-based complement to those efforts. It's a perfect example of how you can blend profit and purpose to create impact that's not only sustainable but can scale up. So, as you think about your own future and the kind of mark you want to leave on the world, let's just put it all together. Here's a quick summary of the 3 models we've been talking about.
This chart lays it out so clearly. You can see the huge difference in what drives each model. Business is motivated by profit. Government is motivated by social benefit. And social enterprise, it's all about creating social value. And look at how the focus shifts from the customer to the citizen to the entire community. Each one has a totally unique way of defining what success even looks like.
So it all comes back to you. The world absolutely needs brilliant innovators in business. It desperately needs dedicated, passionate people in public service. But maybe, just maybe, what it also needs is a new generation of problem solvers who can walk that third path, blending the best of both worlds. The only question left is, which path will you take?